Welcome back to Stationeers, and it's time to come up with some feedback first of all. So we've got plenty of feedback from the last episode, and just a quick one. I previously had, and this has just changed on beta, I had the syntax for this jump to include a $sign. However, it seems now that that is perfectly fine without the $sign. In fact, it won't work if you leave the $sign in there. So just do change that. The other thing is that this all line, and people did comment about this, the all line isn't needed now because we're not really checking multiple things and checking whether at least one of them is true, so we can get rid of that as well. And that also means, I wish I could, can I? Oh, no, I can't. So I can't actually just select lines. I will have to remove them manually. So if we just take those out, we will be able to see that this whole thing is much easier, of course. But there was some comment saying, well, we can add more checks to basically make this a little bit less simple, but just double check whether things like the furnace were already on and such things. I'm just going to demonstrate that briefly, and if you want to do that, you can. I'm going to leave it off on mine, but just so that you're aware of how to do that. I think this is mainly from a guy with the name starting with Omega. You know who you are. I've forgotten the rest of the name. It's quite long if I remember rightly. So yeah, we can, instead of just look at whether it's occupied or not, we can also look at whether the furnace is already activated. And if it is, we can just skip things. So if we load into R0, we can just reuse this, of course, furnace 1. And this time we're going to look whether it's actually activated. Activate. There we go. If the developers are actually watching, please make this nicer with the whole thing of it just deciding to delete lines when I'm not even on that line and pressing delete. Anyway, so I'm going to load the activate state into this particular line, into R0, and then we're just going to decide, if it is greater than 0, i.e. if it's activated, we're just going to, R0, we're just going to jump to, and this is directly Omega's code, so skip 1, or let's just call it skip furnace 1. Okay, and then we can do some other things as well, so we can check whether it's occupied. So I'll load, in fact, I'm already doing that, aren't I? So yeah, we can just leave that alone. Yep, check whether, well, I'm checking whether the input's occupied. We actually want to check whether the output's occupied on this, so we'll do the same thing. R0, furnace 1, 1 occupied. And if that is also greater than 1 again, we just skip furnace 1. Okay, same thing again. And that is pretty much it, I think. But then we're doing this existing check. Then we're going to basically activate the furnace if everything succeeds. And then at this point, we're actually at the skip furnace 1 stage. Okay, so that basically checks whether it's activated and skips if so, whether its export slot is occupied, skips if so, and then does the same thing we did in the previous episode. And again, I'm not going to bother about putting that into the previous thing, but it'll get to here, and then we'll continue through here, I think. Yeah, we don't need to do anything else. Export that, it's still fine. So yeah, those 4 lines, 6 through 9, if you want to copy that down, feel free to. Now, there was a change on the beta branch, and it's quite a large change to the hydroponic system. And I did just want to check that. Before I go in there, let me just make sure it's not actually boiling, because I do have some of the system off. 311. It's warm, but not nuclear. Not like an oven or something. I'll just cancel that for a second. So one other piece of feedback was I got, and there's quite a bit of an argument about how atmospherics actually works at the end of the day, and we will test it this episode, because the suggestion here was that not only do we need active vents on the inside of the airlock, but to get rid of it, we also need to put them on the outside of the airlock. So we have a pipe here, and this is where the output of the airlock is. It goes in through there, see? And what we're probably going to do is put a passive vent here, and one here, and then maybe just continue that line around this way. And we'll see how many, in fact, if we have one there, we need to skip that one. If we want just to test each block space, we'll try that and just see how well it works at depressurizing things. Anyway, before we get to that, I just wanted to cover a change here that that has been made. Are you on stage 4? Why aren't you working? Oh, it's probably because, you know, that jump statement? Well, all my code uses that previous syntax, so it's going to not actually work until I update that code, which may mean I need to port around my computer everywhere. However, before I do that, and think about doing that, I just want to check in here. So, what was previously happening was that all hydroponics or plants were producing a small amount, of realistic amount of oxygen. However, the way the atmospheric system worked, it was basically rounding that down. It was just turning into 0. So the amount of O2 has been increased by an order of magnitude, 10 times basically. It's now no longer realistic, but it just now produces a bit more oxygen. So if you have a look in here, in this canister, there's now 0.7 moles. So there's still plenty, but it's now actually at 1%. So we'll see how that actually goes on once I re-enable this whole plant thing. So I'm going to need to port around that computer to get this to work. I don't need this to work straight away. But before we do that, why don't we go and see if I can, let's see how fast this takes. So that's the door shut, and that's the outdoor open. So either that's been updated. That seemed to be quite fast. I'm not sure if we actually still want that to be faster than that. We'll see about when we actually get into the system, because that is the slow part, getting into the room. What do we need to do to get that started? Do I have enough iron? Where's my stack of iron? My non-existent stack of iron, it looks like. Do I have any? Oh yeah, I do have some back here. So yeah, just because I didn't have the sorting system fully working and everything, it's just sort of dumping ores wherever, and that doesn't matter too much, to be honest. You know, one of the other suggestions I got was that I abandon those and we just pipe all of this stuff straight into an auto lathe and just pull the stuff back out of the auto lathe. That sort of leads to the idea of this being a sort of serial system. And by that I mean, if you want it in the auto lathe, you dump everything into the auto lathe. If you want it in the next thing along, you pull the handle, push it back again, and then everything will end up in the next machine, etc. But that means that if you want stuff in the third machine, you've got to go through 2 of them, or at least leave the handles open. I'm not sure what you guys think of that. And that's relatively simple to do, because you just have you have a long chain. So we can go underground here, push it down underground, and come out of here, and just get rid of these. Simpler. And then from here we have to go underground and then back to this one, and then from here underground and back to this one. And then the loop's going to be we have to go from here underground and back up into a junction that actually goes into here. So we'll need to come out one further than normal, I think. Yeah, we'll have to have a junction here and then go down underground to here, or stay above ground. But I don't quite like above ground stuff. In any case, I'll leave that for you guys to talk about in comments. In the meantime, I'm going to need another chip, aren't I? So let's take a look at what we can actually make. Well, I'm also going to need some passive vents, but that's by the by. So let's get the IC housing on build. And let's also take a look at what passive vents cost. Let's get a few of those and some pipes going. So not radiators, passive vents. 3 iron. We've got plenty available, I think. That's copper. Let's get some iron in. There we go. All right, so let's, well, we've got enough for lots of passive vents. I will leave that going for now. This one is 72%. And I've already got 1 passive vent in here, so why don't we make 4? Well, make 3, and I've already got 1. Or even make 5. Let's just find the next recipe along. Whoops, and that's still making. There we go. Whoops. And what else do we need? Some pipe, I think. That'll be. Is that right at the bottom? Resources or something? No, but halfway down. Okay. All right, so we've got that going, and let's get the IC housing. And we want the IC chip itself, if I can find it somewhere. Where is the chip? There it is. Okay, and yeah, I'm being swarmed by pipes, unfortunately, because they print really fast. That's where and that's the other downside of this kind of thing. If we do that with the ingots, how do we get the products out of here? We'd have to have a sorter, and all the ingots would just go one way, and anything else will pop out of the other way and then go into a stacker. Sort of makes this whole thing a little bit more bulky for each machine. Doable, but bulky. So yeah, do comment below about that one as well. So let's get this pipe going, and let's see how well this does. So cycle to interior. See how long this takes. So this is the normal airlock control circuit. And it takes a while, but it's trying to pressurize to 100. And we don't have 100 on the inside because we just don't need 100 on the inside. However, that means it takes longer than expected. So let's just, I don't know, maybe just put them like this. And yeah, that looks reasonable, I think. And if we just take this one off, let me just, how many of these we've got? We've got 4, so let me connect up 4. So let me take that one off and just keep it to one wall, shall we? There we go. And if I just deconstruct this corner, there we go. And we can send it that way. And that looks around about right. So T-junction. And we'll do the same thing with the others. So how many we want? We want, let's just connect 4 to start off with. That'll equal the number of active vents. And we can always try adding more later. I just want some there. And corner. Okay, and I'm going to go and connect up the others now. Of course I ran out of pipe, but we've got 3 connected now. I guess I could sort of jam another one there and just shorten this by 1 length or something, but it's fine for now. Let's see how this does. So, yeah, it shouldn't make all that much difference on leaving, but let's give it a go anyway. I'm not sure how much faster we can make it. Yeah, again, it's okay. It's fine leaving. What happens if we try and head inside with that? So let's close it. Let's see how fast this is. That's definitely much faster, isn't it? In fact, it's fast enough that I haven't actually cancelled it. However, then of course, as soon as the door opens, well, we're going to drop back down to the actual internal pressure. Fine, so I'm going to go and make some more pipe, and let's see if that can actually be sped up without adding more active vents, because we can always add more active vents as well. It just, yeah, let's see. I'm going to print more pipe. And there we go, we've got 6 connected now. I know that looks in a little slightly odd space. I just want to keep it in this block space, just in case it does calculate on a per block basis. I assume it does, because that's just how these atmospheric systems work. In any case, cycle to the exterior. It takes about 5 seconds to pressurize to 100 when there's only 3 connected, or whatever we had previously. Okay, so we're now on the exterior. Let's cycle to the interior. So as soon as this light comes on, I'm counting pretty much from then. So let's give this a go. Door closed. Nope, that appears to be pretty much the same amount of time. So beyond a certain amount, the passive vents are not going to help, at least not more than maybe on the number of active vents. So then I guess we could probably make this pressurized faster by adding more active vents to this. Let's maybe be able to build 1 or 2 more of these, and let's put them on here and see if we can add them into the process. So let's give that a test. So if we've got 4 at the moment, we've got 6 passive vents out there. Let's try 6 active vents. So we just need 2 more active vents. And then some more pipe, which I've got-ish. I need to print some more, I think. So let's just print a few more. And then some more cable. And I think I have enough cable. Yeah, 16, that'll do. And my data card. Where have I put my data card? Ah, it's in my inventory. Good. It's in my my hardsuit jetpack. Wow, I got ejected. Some of the new things have been added. Basketball hoop, it seems, and basketball. If you wanted to play that game. I think early on in Season 1, someone suggested I make one of those. And you can sort of do it just with a... I think that's probably what a basketball hoop is. It's probably just a remodeled, you know, duct inlet or something like that, or inlet and outlet or something along those lines, and should do the job like that. So you could drop, you know, ore into the top of it, and it would drop through the bottom, and you could detect what it was. But still, if you want to play basketball on Mars, then that is in game. Lots of just miscellaneous stuff getting added, and as people give ideas and stuff like that. So that's fine. I don't have any problem with that. So we just need some gold and copper. We have some gold. Okay, well, let's just get some copper. Gold will eventually pop out of here. And there we go. That's it, should be enough to print a couple off. How much? Oh, it doesn't need much gold. It's only 1 gold. And that will get us 2 active vents. Put this integrated circuit away. In fact, that'll be fine because I can just put it back around over here. Oh, we already have one. This is fine. I was gonna create one there because that's where we're going. That's where we're going to be going next. But I've got enough space for that, so that's fine. And let's get those 2 active vents. So with these, I'm just going to put them on the wall, and we'll just continue the same approach that we've got here. It's deciding just I don't want to put it on that wall. You do get that sometimes when you try to mount these things to the walls, but let's just get a couple there. And just as you might imagine, just a corner piece. A T-junction, and then we'll have to edit this previous one, but that won't be too hard. We'll just get a T-junction back in again, and a corner. And then on the other side of things, let's just put that out here. On the other side, we just want some cable, so some corner pieces there. Pretty much the same layout as the pipes, really, to be honest. But I'm going to need different tools for that. Yeah, fine though. Junction. Corner. Junction. Okay. And now it probably will be objecting, or at least, well, it should be objecting, but why aren't you objecting yet? Well, because I've not tried to cycle you. Let's just insert you. And see if we can find those other things. Yep, those are 2 extra vents. Okay, and that's everything, I think. So let's put that back. Let's cycle to the interior. Hopefully all of these will turn on. Okay. That is slightly faster, yes. In fact, that's pretty acceptable. I may even add some more. But yeah, so just it looks like linearly scale the number of active vents to passive vents, and the pipe network in between them doesn't much matter. If there's any way to speed this up any further other than just adding active and passive vents, let me know. It's sort of near, it's about 3 seconds to get between them. I'm sort of happy. I don't think I need to get much faster there, but in case I do, just let me know in the comments if you... I have seen it in like almost instant one on Reddit, but I've got a feeling that actually just either wastes gas or it gets rid of stuff in order to do that. Let's just try depressurizing. How fast are you doing that? Shouldn't be very quick. Yep, that's pretty quick. Okay, fine, no problems there. So what do we need to do from here? From here, I think I want to move the computer, and I may well fix that interior code first of all. So I'm just going to grab you. Yeah, and you're just going to object, aren't you? And let's deconstruct you. And I'll fix that code, but I'll do that, off camera. And then we'll go and move this around to our atmospheric control system. or rather the atmospheric heating system and cooling system. Yeah, more of this oddness here. This may be only on beta branch. It may be solved while you're actually doing this. So we have alias O hydroponics here, and I just to see whether that was actually the problem, I changed this back to D5. But in the code I have given you, it was hydroponics like this, and then the next line down was also O hydroponics. And then this was set to plant. Okay, plant. Now, I don't know which slot is which, unfortunately, but it doesn't seem to work now with plant. Did before. The documentation over here says int, and I have no idea why this is an int. It should not be an int, because there's no way to determine that. It's just ridiculous. On the slot reader, you choose the actual slot name, and that is plant. So if I just change this back just to prove this, plant growth, plant quantity, export. Nope, doesn't like that. So this is what previously did work. If anyone knows any different, do let me know. But I'm just forced to actually guess now which slot this is. So let's just assume it's slot 0. And if that doesn't work when the plant finishes growing, then we'll change it to slot 1 and 2, etc. Very, very strange. But I will leave that going. And that means I'll have to leave that computer here. Oh well, I will leave it here and we'll just make another one, I guess. Still not terribly sure this is still fast enough. I may well look up that instant airlock on Reddit and let's see what that actually does. Yeah, so that is fine. What have we got here? So I'm going to need another computer, aren't I? Let's see, what does it actually take to make this? And we're going to need another programmer circuit board, which is fine. Very useful to have one anyway. So motherboard, IC circuit editor, just gold and copper. Good. And I have still some gold in here. I've actually got active vents in here, so yeah, let's just... Oh, this is where I was making the active vents. Okay. And that, and in there. Yeah, let's build that. And get that going. And why don't we also put this in here? Has it finished? It has. And then just the computer of some kind. Where are you? You'll be in this list, hopefully. Computer. Yeah, all the same kind of stuff. Handy to have a few of these around the place anyway, so let's get that done. And we'll take this over to our atmospheric heating, which I expect to have similar issues, but let's get the computer in place. Turn it around. And let's import from this. Is that my import? Yeah. So I did a lot of aliases. Not sure I'm going to need them, of course, but we did a lot of aliases. And then what do I have this turned off? Switching heating off. But we have cooling on. Okay. We have cooling on, but it's not very good at cooling. So this is obviously going to need some changes. Let me just re-review how I set this in the first place. Okay, this is broken because I'm comparing a value to essentially to this pipe analyzer. But this pipe analyzer is a vacuum right now. Because what's basically, let's just take a look. Grab my tablet. So if we have a look here, pipe network is not applicable, nothing in there. Pipe network for this is mostly CO2. So we've lost our coolant essentially. Otherwise, the coolant would be in here. There's no... actually. Yeah, there's 804 moles of coolant in this tank, which this pipe network, which is the heating network, and is at 80 degrees Celsius. So we can... well, we need to get it back. What I think what's probably happened is... it's been dumped back around by this pipe. See that pipe right there? Yeah, so there it is. And what may have happened, it's when I've probably, yeah, what I've done is I've pulled this pollutant filter when this has been on. And what that effectively does is say, hey, don't filter anything. And then it's all gone into that. So it should be straightforward, although it will try and heat the room when we actually do this. If I turn you on manually, and let's take a look at this. So what you should see is that the amount of CO2, it's starting to trigger the cold regulator, of course, but you'll see the amount of pollutant rise. So if I turn this off for a second, because it's got the filter in place now, this should actually have a temperature. Yeah, there's only 2 moles in there. But it does have a temperature and we can get it back. It just means that we need to get it back through this, and that may be slightly inefficient. Is that a cooling? No, that's still heating. And that's not great, but yeah, that's one way of getting this back. Let's just see how much we actually get back. 3 moles. This may take a little time. We can turn this up, of course, but that will just basically make this room try to tend towards this 80 degrees, which is what this is set to create over here. So yeah, I'm not so much a fan of that. I think what I'm going to do, however, is while I've actually got that going, we actually have a temperature I can use. I'm just going to turn that off for a second, and we'll go over to the code and ideally clean a lot of this up, because we don't need the memory units anymore. Even the comparisons. What we will need to read is maybe the room temperature, so we can leave that alone for the moment. And if the room temperature, you know, is too warm, then we'll just turn on our cooling. All right, so let me just review the code, and well, hopefully we don't have the same issues with the slot names as we do with the hydroponics. Okay, and remember that I was previously I've just had to change the start syntax at the bottom of the file, but nothing else has changed from the episode. Just to review what I actually did in here, just so you can see. I did a whole bunch of aliases. Don't worry about those, because we'll add it to the program later. Basically, load the temperature and pressure from the gas sensor inside hydroponics. See whether 303 is less than the temperature, i.e. Basically room's too hot. And then previously I had this thing of storing it into a memory chip, but we're not going to be doing the memory chip approach. What we can then do is for D1 and D2 here, we can set them to the cold regulator and the hot regulator, if it's in here somewhere. Forget what I actually called it, mind you, but it should actually be in here. Ah, hot regulator, fine. So cold regulator, hot regulator. So we're going to control the values of whether they are on or not. So let's do that. To do that should be quite straightforward. Hopefully this will actually work. So we're just going to store, and we need to store to D1. So store or be cool. And then we are going to say, what is it we actually want to do in this case? Just activate maybe, or on. I think it's probably the on state. So let's try on. And then it's R15, this temp value. So let's just try temp. So if it is too hot, then we're going to cool it down. And at the moment, I don't need the heating side, you know, because we've sealed everything in. So that's a straightforward change. And let's see whether it actually works. Yep, it's turned on the cold tank. And whether that actually work or not is something else. Oh no, it is actually decreasing. So the cold tank is now open. We don't have much pollutant, but we can also refill pollutant. I've got a... do I actually have any in here, I wonder? Helps with the power. I do have, yes, I do have some in there. So I can... Did I just run out of power? Did I really run out of power? Why is there no power? Why is... Oh, the solar... Remember when I said that our programs needed changing? Do you want to know which program I didn't change? I'll give you a clue. Yeah, let me sort that one out. That shouldn't be terribly hard to sort out. Let's just put this away. And I may have to readjust some stuff manually to get more power. Or wait for the sun to just hit... Ah, there it is. It's... oh, that's got no battery charge. Oh, things just falling apart whenever the beta branch updates. That's just a part of it, unfortunately, but we should be fine. Let's just grab you. Come on, grab you. There we go. And I will suffer through this so that you don't have to. In which case, anyway, that it has already started working, but how fast it will work, I may need to open that manual valve say here we're getting some stuff here. And let's just go and put this. That's why one of the reasons I still haven't cleaned this up. I'm so sorry, but one of the reasons why you may want to leave your cables in place, just so that you can actually do this and put this back, and at least until this thing is more stable. So let's just turn you on, import you, and then we should. Oh, that's jump 8. So you should already be. Oh, this has got labels in it. Okay. So labels aren't actually needed anymore. And what is it here that it actually objects to? Well, we can certainly change those to aliases to start off with and see what it's having a problem with. Yep, I just changed those to aliases. You can see on top there, and changed this back to jump 0 just so that everything is just being covered every time. Confirmed and exported it, and they're now back to 99% efficient. Okay, so let's turn this back off again and head back over to the well, not the hydroponics, but the atmospheric heating system. Let's just grab you. And let's head back over. This is why I probably should just print off permanent computers that I'll leave off. And I can always quickly amend them, because they're all on separate subnetworks. So it's not like I need to control them all remotely, to be honest. I quite like things in subnetworks rather than keeping them all in the same. There we go. Open you can go back in, close you off. Fine. So this cold is permanently on now. What I was saying is, in here we have quite a bit of pollutant. So I can open this line, I think. It shouldn't backflow beyond this point, and everything else gets drawn off. So yeah, let's just grab you. Let me just double check. Yeah, so we're going to open that and let out a fairly significant amount. That'll do. It'll just equalize, and then we can close it off again, and that will get filled up again in future. That does mean now that we have enough pollutant that should start cooling. And that is indeed cooling quite nicely, in fact. So all I'm really doing here is just opening that until this hits essentially 303. And that means I can probably shut off this, all the rest of it, because we don't really need the heating system as long as this is closed off anymore. Now, that doesn't mean I can't add code to do it. And I will add some code now. Let me just, oops, that's the solar stuff. Let me just import. There we go. So what do we want to do to you know, in your case, maybe you have this exposed to the sun. So if you wanted to do that, that is fine. You're just going to add the same kind of lines here, at least. So so temp, and now we're going to look at the temperature, but compare it to something like, I don't know. What's the minimum for plants? Let's just say 278, so like 5 degrees Celsius. Whatever that actually turns out to be, we're basically saying, is the temperature less than that? And if it is, then we're going to do something. So we're going to say, so OB cool, sorry, OB heat, not OB cool, on, and then temp, because we're using that temporary value again. We're loading in the... yeah, we're loading the result of the temperature in there. So what we're really doing here is saying if it ever gets above 303, we're going to turn the cooling on. If it ever gets below 278, we're going to turn the heating on. And there's no need for any complex behavior here, no need for any complex coding, because all of that should be fine. So that is heating and cooling dealt with. And that probably means if I export, I'm not going to need any of that chips, because I'm reading the temperature directly off the hydroponics gas sensor that's on the inside. So all of this can come out, and I can reclaim all of that cable aside from a small amount, and that will be much nicer out here, I think. Yeah, I'm really quite happy at that. That small amount of code. So I will put that code in the comments at the bottom of the video, again, just as I've done previously, and you can all basically decide whether you want to optimize it or not. We have been doing that, at least people have been doing that when they've been seeing my code and going, oh my god, you have any checks in there? Well, yeah, very often I don't. I just do something that will actually work. Oh, and it's actually turned, oh, I've got to run out of power again, because there wasn't enough time before night time. Well, I always leave an emergency reserve, even when the power's completely out, and that is just a stack of coal. Yeah, there we go. So we can just clear this problem up by dropping that in there. And that'll start everything back up. It'll start charging the batteries, etc. And we should be fine. The heating system over here shouldn't really be using all that much power at the moment, mainly because we're not really using it and it's at a fairly steady state. You see the heating wall heaters are basically off. They will turn back on again once it drops below a certain value. And you'll see it has actually dropped in temperature down below the cool amount. So everything is just now shut off again. And what we could also do here, I think, is we can also replace this with just, or remove that carbon dioxide, because I don't think we need to just keep this pure carbon dioxide. It's not going to combust with what's in here, but yeah, do let me know. We can also put it directly through atmospherics. I may have to have a think what we do anymore with atmospherics, because there's plenty of stuff we could do with it, including putting the big tanks in. I think the next stage is going to be this tower. I've sorted out the heating and cooling now. We can shut off all, in fact, let me just shut off all these chips now, just to prove the point. Well, not that you could see it unless it was actually heating or not, but all of these chips. And I know in some cases maybe the new code does not save power over chips if there's only like a couple of chips to replace. But with this number, I mean, come on. In fact, we can actually tell. We can tell how much this is actually using. So if I just grab my network analyzer and swap it out for the atmospheric analyzer, if I just turn this on and get rid of that out of the way, you'll see, where's the IC filtration? What was it actually called? Hydroponics housing. Is that actually in here? Yeah, on 50 watts. Okay, that's fine. So let's just turn on a logic writer and a maths unit. Doesn't matter which one really, because they'll all occupy it. So let's just see. What's this one called? Switching heating pump on and logic writer. Fine. So logic writer is 10 watts. So you need 5 of those chips if you want to, come out ahead if you're just using those chips. But the maths processor I expect to be like 25 watts or something along those lines. Switch heating pump on. And are you in here? Switching heating pump, yeah, 25 watts. Okay, so if you have a maths unit and a logic writer and logic reader, you're sort of, that's basically, was it 10 watts? Yeah, so 10 watts? I think it was 10 watts. Yeah, logic writer 10 watts. So 2 of those, basically reader and writer, and one of these gets you this almost the same amount as a chip. So if you've got more than 2 of these and one of a maths processor or a select unit or something, then just go with the IC chips if you want power savings. Even so, though, this is taking 50 watts. It's a bit much. It's a single programmable chip. One of the most basic kind of things you can do, well, fairly basic in sort of a computer, and they don't take 50 watts. So it is somewhat gamified for the system. In fact, these things definitely wouldn't need, 25 watts. 25 watts is quite an amount of heat to get rid of. So you're more along the lines of I don't know, maybe Arduino territory there, maybe. But I'm sure someone who actually uses them all the time can probably comment about the actual amount of wattage. I would expect more towards millivolt territory and milliamp territory, and yeah, that sort of thing. In any case, yeah, I think we're done here with heating and cooling. I can turn these back off again now. Hopefully the syntax doesn't change again while between the episodes, but otherwise we'll continue. Next episode, I think I've got to sort out the sorting system down below. If we can do that with ICs, that does make it a little bit easier. And then we've got to consider this system again, and maybe we'll go with that pass-through system through machines. Maybe we won't. They do determine below, or indeed we can turn our gas generator room back on and then control this with ICs. You'll see all these chips. That's a really big good candidate for replacing with an IC chip. But otherwise, my stack of coal's probably run out now. They should be getting ready for morning. Is it going? Yes, it's going towards morning. And they're approaching their start position, so everything's good there, apart from the cable, which is untidy. I know, All right, so I think that's pretty much it for this episode. I think we're approaching time. Let me just have a look. So we're on, yeah, we're pretty much approaching time, or at least I've probably gone past time as usual. But no, we're pretty much good. So we've got a heat control system now for the interior here, and indeed you could use that for the base in its entirety, as long as you had enough radiators and stuff going on for that kind of thing. We can just turn that back off again now, save a bit more power. And we'll see you next episode for some more Stationeers, maybe some more atmospherics, maybe a sorting, maybe even a gas generator. Not quite so sure yet. Put things in the comments below. As always, feel free to like, subscribe, and share, depending on what you thought of the video. Do let me know if you've got any comments. And as always, guys, thanks for watching.